All right, guys, so today we're gonna kind of get a first look at a pair of IEMs that I think are going to grab a lot of people's attention. And that pair is the OAudio Volare. Now these come in at $599, so they are not a cheap pair of IEMs. And they're coming from a company that basically to this point, nobody has heard of. This is OAudio. This is the first product they're releasing. Shenzhen Audio is the company that sent these out to me. They send out a lot of IEMs and a lot of earbuds, and you'll start to see a lot of reviewers kind of get their hands on these. If you're a new company, you want people to talk about your product, and you need to have something pretty special to stand out. And I think OAudio may have just done that with this pair, not only because of the drivers and everything that they're using, but even simply because of the presentation of the packaging. And I've started to see some pictures online about these. Even Critical posted something on Twitter. And yeah, it's definitely unique when it comes to the packaging, because it kind of looks like a tackle box or maybe even a jewelry box, because it has drawers that hide all of the accessories. The case on these are very nice. But before we get into all that, let's talk about the IEMs themselves. Now, what they're using is a custom 8mm dynamic driver. They're using 4 custom full-range balanced armature drivers, and they're using 4 imported sonic electrostatic drivers. And this is where it starts to make these stand out, and this is where it starts to bring the value. If you look at other IEMs that are using electrostatic drivers, they're usually pretty pricey. They kind of get into that $1,000 to $2,000 price point. So that is where, when you see the $599 price tag, it starts to make these look a little bit more appealing. Now the IEMs themselves kind of look like it just has resin all around it as far as the design and the build. It's a very smooth pair, but it does fit very comfortably in my ear. I didn't have any issue with these moving around, and it kind of has like a sparkle to it. Now these definitely stand out. You can even see the swirl design on the outside, which is what people were gonna see once they're in your ear. And the accessories that they've included also make these stand out, because it uses an 8-strand oxygen-free copper silver plated cable. It is using a 2-pin connector, so this is like extremely common. But the interesting thing about the cable as well is the connectors that you get. You basically get any kind of connection that you could possibly want. It just screws in to the end of the cable. It actually kind of connects with 4 pins, and then there's a little adjuster that goes over it and tightens it in so that it won't be removed. And so no matter what kind of amp you have, you won't have any problem plugging these into them because of all of these adapters. But the weird thing to me, as nice as the carrying case is on this, it doesn't feel like it's really made to carry anything but the IEMs themselves. If you're gonna put the cable in there, you kind of have to wrap it around the IEMs, because it just has those cutouts made for the IEMs to sit into. But even when you put ear tips on the IEMs, it does not fit in the case that way. So I felt like that was extremely weird. Maybe you can take the inside liner part of it out, but I pulled on it and I didn't want to break or tear anything, and it never moved. So I don't really know that it's made to come out. And also, whatever your preference is when it comes to ear tips, you're not gonna have an issue here because of all of the ones that they've included. Now you're getting 4 different styles of silicone ear tips, and you're getting foam ear tips, but you're getting small, medium, and large in all of them. And I think it's nice that they've included foam ear tips, because there's a lot of people that prefer foam ear tips. Now, I'm not one of those. I do like silicone ear tips. And I'm also gonna stress that depending on which silicone ear tips you use, it is going to affect the audio quality. Some kind of give you a little bit more punch in the low end. Some, tighten it up a little bit more so it makes things sound a little bit brighter. So make sure that you switch around the different ear tips to find the one that kind of fits the sound that you like. As far as actually the sound and using these, the frequency response is from 10 hertz all the way to 40 kilohertz. The impedance level on these is only 4.8 ohms. This is one of the easiest pair of IEMs to drive, which means you can plug it into any device. You're going to get plenty of volume out of these. But what really stood out about them was how much bass and how bright the treble was and how detailed the mids were, without even needing to plug these into an amp. Now, if you want to kind of just elevate it even more, obviously you would want to use an amp, But all I needed to use on these was this simple dongle that just plugged straight into my Pixel Fold, and that was everything that I needed. Now, I did plug these into other amps to kind of test them out, some smaller ones, also some desktop amps, and it's just crazy how well these IEMs handle all of it, the way that it really can just pull everything out. But that felt like the craziest thing was how simple they were, how simple just plugging it into my phone with that dongle was just, that was all I needed. It sounded incredible, and it was so spacious and so airy. And what that did was allowed the bass to have a lot of punch. It did a really good job with sub bass. It was aggressive, it was tight, it was clean, but it was distant. So it didn't feel like it was just kind of muddying everything up. It didn't feel like it was trying to take over with anything. And that was kind of the same with the treble. The treble was nice and bright, but it never got harsh. The S's never had that sibilant sound to them. And I think that's where the electrostatic drivers come in, because it kind of smooths out treble a little bit. And I think that's what kept it just from peaking too much. It allowed it to get like right up to that point, but pulled it back just enough so that it didn't cause ear fatigue. And maybe this has to do with the air pressure balance system that these have. This is allowing these to have space in the sound. It's allowing these to breathe a little bit and not be as, overly just muddy with the sound, because I never had any issue no matter what genre I was listening to. It was just kind of fun to go through my music collection and hear all of these subtle things. And same thing with the mids. The mids are like pushed forward enough that male and female vocalists have a lot of characteristics. In fact, acoustic instruments just sounded incredible with this pair. So yeah, it's a fun pair of IEMs to use. It's not a balanced pair as far as like a flat or reference sound. I don't even think that's possible with these because of how powerful they are just out of the box. Being able to plug a pair of IEMs and have the bass and the treble be as aggressive as it is, just, by plugging straight into a device is not something that I'm normally used to. Again, I always feel like I need to pull out, an amp or a DAC or whatever to just kind of pull out things from IEMs, because for the most part, they're power hungry, or, they have things that are hidden that require amps to kind of pull them out. And I did not feel like the Volare needed that at all. I didn't feel like they were holding anything back. They allowed things to breathe. They allowed space, the sound stage, the sound imaging on this pair. It's very, very open, and it does just such a good job of being able to tell where different sounds are coming from. So my overall opinion is this. I think it is definitely ballsy for a new company to come out and say, here is a $600 pair of IEMs. But when you kind of step back and you compare it to other IEMs that are using similar drivers, using those electrostatic drivers, and you have to keep in mind that these are custom dynamic drivers. These are custom balance armature drivers. They're not just pulling these off the shelf and just throwing them in from other IEMs. I mean, these are made specifically for these, and they're using a 4-way crossover system. So everything is really well thought out in this pair of IEMs. And I think this is a pretty special product. And I think if you're a new company, you kind of have to do this from the beginning, because the market with IEMs are so flooded. It's very hard to stand out. And I think they have something special here, but it's all gonna come down to getting these in people's hands. This is just a product that I feel like people are gonna have to experience to see what I'm talking about. But guys, that's my video on the brand new OAudio Volare. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.